Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. நான் உங்க ரேவதி பேசுறேன். இன்னைக்கு நம்ம வந்து கேப்டவுன்ல 3rd டே வந்து எங்கெங்க போலாம் அப்படிங்கறத நான் vlog பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேங்க. சோ இப்போ வந்து நேத்து வீடியோ பார்த்த எல்லாருக்குமே தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும். நேத்து வந்து பிளான் பண்ணியிருந்தோம் ராபன் ஐலாண்ட் வந்து அங்க போக முடியல. அதனால நேத்து வந்து நாங்க டிக்கெட் புக் பண்ணிருக்கோம் இன்னைக்கு போறதுக்கு. சோ இன்னைக்கு 9 o'clock ட்ரிப் வந்து எங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சிருக்கு. ஸோ 8:30க்கு நம்ம அங்கே இருக்கணும். ஸோ நேற்று வீடியோ பார்க்காதவங்களுக்கு நான் வந்து டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷனில் வந்து நான் வந்து டே 2ஓடதையும் டே 1ஓடதையும் நான் வந்து கொடுக்குறேன். நீங்கள் பார்த்துக்கோங்க, ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி வந்து இன்றைக்கி நம்ம எங்கெங்கெல்லாம் போகிறோம் அப்படிங்கிறதையும் நான் அதில் கவர் பண்ண போகிறேன். இன்றைக்கி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பிளேஸ் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா ராபன் ஐலாண்ட். நாங்கள் எங்கள் வீட்டிலேருந்து கிளம்பியாச்சு, மார்னிங் பிரேக்ஃபாஸ்ட் எல்லாம் முடிச்சாச்சு. ஸோ நான் என்னென்ன பார்க்குறேன் அப்படிங்கிறத ராபன் ஐலாண்ட் ரீச் ஆனதுக்கு அடுத்து நான் உங்களுக்கு அப்டேட் பண்ணுறேங்க. விஆர்என் வாட்டர் ஃப்ரண்ட்டுக்கு வந்தாச்சுங்க. ஸோ அந்த இடத்துல தான் வந்து ராபன் ஐலாண்டுக்கு போகிற பிளேஸ் இருக்குது. ஸோ அங்கே தான் வந்து அந்த க்ரூஸ் வந்திருக்கும். ஸோ இப்போ நம்ம அந்த இடத்துக்கு தான் நடந்து போயிட்டுருக்கோங்க. ராபன் ஐலாண்டு க்ரூஸ் ஏறுறதுக்கான பிளேஸ்க்கு வந்துட்டோங்க. உங்களுக்கு லேண்ட்மார்க்குன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த கிளாக் டவர் தாங்க வந்து லேண்ட்மார்க்கு. ஸோ இதுக்கு பக்கத்துலேயே தான் வந்து இருக்குது இந்த கிளாக் டவர் தாங்க. இது ரொம்ப ஃபேமஸ் இந்த கேப்டவுனில். ஸோ இந்த இடம் வந்து எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும். ஸோ அதுலேருந்து பக்கத்தில் நான் உங்களுக்கு காமிக்கிறேன். ஸோ இதுதாங்க. ஸோ நெல்சன் மண்டேலா கேட்வே இது தாங்க. ஸோ இதுலேருந்து தான், இந்த கேட்வேலேருந்து தான் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நம்ம வந்து ராபன் ஐலாண்டுக்கு போக முடியும். ஸோ வந்து இந்த தாங்க வே. ஸோ அந்த லைனில் எல்லோரும் உள்ளே போயிட்டுருக்காங்க பாருங்கள். ராபன் ஐலாண்டுக்கு போகிற க்ரூஸ் இந்த க்ரூஸ் தாங்க.
Welcome you to Super Lecture. I also want to remind you about the COVID-19 regulations. Please guys, sorry but we'll continue checking some sources guys. It's very important to listen to what I'm going to say. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, the COVID is still around us, so please, let's obey the rules of the COVID-19 regulations. Make sure you wear your mask at all times. Please, I repeat, wear your mask, cover your mouth and your nose on this vessel. And make sure you maintain the social distance. If you're sitting with someone I don't know, please make sure you sanitize and make sure you check the social distance. Thirdly, I just want to show you how to don the life jacket, just in case of emergency. I repeat, I wanted to show you how to don the life jacket just in case of emergency to save your life. It's very easy guys, it's like a jacket, yeah? You're wearing your jacket, and you zip it. Like a clear. And then make it tight according to your waist. There is a body liner. Could be a body liner. You can tie it up yourself with someone else. You're together forever. As you can see, they are together forever. There is a light. This light is going to be automatically on, activate immediately in the water. Sometimes it's dark. Then you can save your life. You can easily identify where are you. There is a whistle. This whistle is easier. It's just to blow it so that you can get attention. Guys, thank you very much for joining this trip with us, and also for choosing Robben Islands as your destination. Sit back and relax, enjoy the ride to the island. I don't know if you want to see the people standing here. It's a hazard, eh? If you want to take the pictures when the boat is still standing, please stand at the back or the side of the boat, eh? Not in front. Thank you so much, guys. The boat is going to take about 30 to 35 minutes from here to the island. Thank you.
ராபன் ஐலாண்டுக்கு வந்துட்டோம். இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து எல்லா இடத்தையும் போய் பார்க்க போகிறோம். நம்ம வந்து க்ரூஸ் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா இந்த க்ரூஸ் தான். இந்த க்ரூஸ் வந்தோம்.
Only 30 minutes and you had to book 6 months before you come. Only 2 languages were allowed to be spoken in there, English or Afrikaans. If you couldn't speak any of the two and there was no interpreter, then you would just sit and look at each other. No physical contact was allowed because there was a thick glass between the two of you and you were only allowed to talk about family matters. Is called a Kramat. It's a holy Muslim shrine of Sheikh Abdul Rahman Matura, who was banished to the island in 1744. He died here, and that structure was built in 1967 by the prisoners on his grave to commemorate him. The maximum security prison is on your right hand side, built in 1963 by the prisoners themselves. It can accommodate 800 prisoners at a time, but I won't tell you much about it because at the end of this tour, an ex-political prisoner will be sharing his experience with you. In 1800s, Robben Island was used as a leper colony. The site on your right hand side is the leper graveyard. On the island we have about 1,500 graves of those lepers who died on the island, and the prison is built over some of them. In 1846, it was believed that leprosy was incurable and contagious, and so all those people who suffered from it were dumped here just to be kept out of sight, out of mind. There was no treatment for them. On their arrival on the island, they were separated in gender and in race because the authorities did not want them to have children, as it was believed that they would pass the disease to their children. But nevertheless, 41 healthy babies were born. Those babies were taken away from their parents, adopted by the parents from the mainland, never to see their parents again. In 1931, a Leprosy Repression Act was lifted, and all those lepers who survived that period were taken to the mainland. Robben Island became a military base for the Second World War. All the buildings that were used by the lepers were then burnt down, but there is only one building that's still standing, and now we're going to the Sobuka house. On your left is the Sobukwe complex. On Robben Island, we have 4 prisons. We have the old prison on the northern side of the island. That's the prison that they used before the maximum security prison was built. We have the maximum security prison where you're going to after this tour. We have the medium security prison that was built for criminals only. And we have the smallest prison, which was built for only 1 person, and that person was Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe. Mr. Sobukwe was the founder member of the Pan-Africanist Congress in 1959. He was once a member of the ANC, but did not agree with the ideologies of the ANC, and so he decided to form his own party, and he called it the PAC. In the 40s, he was in the University of Forte. He was once a lecturer in Wits University. In 1948, there was a pass law. That pass law stated that every black person over the age of 18 had to carry a dom pass. A dom pass was just a stupid pass that black people had to carry around. It gave them restrictions of where to go, where to work, what time they needed to be back in their houses. If they were caught without the document, they were fined 60 rands, which was a 3 months salary of a black person then, or they were to face 6 months imprisonment. In 1960, Mr. Sobukwe called upon all black South Africans over the age of 18 to leave their dom passes at home, march to the nearest police stations and demand an arrest. And so everybody did. 69 people were shot dead in their bags running away from the guns in Sharpeville. Over 100 got injured. Mr. Sobukwe got arrested on that day. That day was called the Sharpeville Massacre. Today it's called the Human Rights Day. Mr. Sobukwe was then sentenced into 3 years imprisonment for incitement. In 1963, when he was about to be released, the cabinet set and they set a clause, and the name of the clause was called the Sobukwe clause. They were deciding about his future, whether to let him go home or to banish him to Robben Island. They decided to banish him to Robben Island, and he was isolated in that single house that you see on your left-hand side with the water barrel next to it for 6 long years, not allowed to talk to anyone. He would eat anytime he wanted to. He had clothes to wear. The warders cooked for him. There were 6 warders that were patrolling around his house 24 hours a day, but he was never allowed to talk to them. What he would do when he saw his fellow prisoners walking down to work in the lime quarry where they used to work is he was not even allowed to say hi to them. He would just scoop up a handful of soil, let the soil filter through his fingers, and that was a message to them saying that you are the sons from the soil of Africa. Let's fight until the end. After 4 years, that is in 1967, it was discovered that Mr. Sobukwe was psychologically affected by the situation he was in, and so his vocal cords were damaged. His family was then allowed to come visit him. In 1969, Mr. Sobukwe got really sick, and since the warders did not want him to die on the island, they decided to send him to Kimberley. He never went to Kimberley before. He knew absolutely no one in Kimberley, but they sent him there. He was kept there once again under house arrest. Only death brought his release. He died in 1978, just before his 54th birthday, and he was buried in Grafreinet, where he was born in 1924. All the structures that you see in front of his house were the dog kennels for the dogs of the warders. After this tour, you'll be doing a prison tour. You'll be taken to the B section of the prison, where all political leaders were kept, Mr. Mandela and them. The dog kennels that you see are bigger than the cells in the B section of the prison. And now we're going to the village of Robben Island. Is the medium security prison, 1974 for criminals only, and in 2004 it was converted into a multi-purpose learning center for the youth. On your left hand side is the limestone quarry. This is where all ex-political leaders, those who were isolated from the B section of the prison, used to do their hard labor. They worked there for 8 hours each and every day of the week. They were promised to work there for 6 months, but that 6 months turned into 13 and a half years. They were given picks, shovels, and spades to dig the lime. Sometimes they used their hands. The warders were patrolling from above. They were going up and down with their dogs and rifles. They were given authority to shoot, not to just shoot, but to shoot to kill. There was no use for the lime. They would dig it today, take it from point A to point B, following day from point B back to point A, until it was needed to construct the roads of Robben Island. They say it was never hard for them to dig the lime, but the glare of the sun and the dust really damaged their eyes and their lungs. When the sun rays strike the lime and it's reflected back to your eyes, then the heat becomes unbearable for your eyes. Now you can understand why Mr. Mandela had to undergo an eye operation after his release as a prisoner on the island, and why you couldn't use a flashlight when you were taking his picture. They were given no sunglasses because the warders said it wasn't part of their uniform, but there was a good in this bad. This is the site where they got the opportunity to interact, to discuss issues, to exchange views, and most of all, to teach each other. Most political leaders came to this island literate. They were doctors, teachers, lawyers, but some of them came to this island illiterate. They couldn't even write their own names, but they left this island with the university degrees, and today they're holding high positions on the mainland. They used the cave on your far left-hand side as their place to eat, to relax, their classroom, and unfortunately, their toilets, because they were not allowed to leave these premises. They would go in there and have their classes. They were writing in sand with their fingers. Later, the criminal prisoners stole cement bags, and they used those cement bags as their books. They adopted a slogan, each one, teach one. There's a pile of stones on your left-hand side. It was 1995 when all ex-political prisoners came to the island for the reunion. When I say all ex-political prisoners, I mean black and white. I mean women and men. They were demonstrating for the media and for the people who were here on that day, what they were doing on the island when they were prisoners. It was Mr. Mandela who started. He broke away from the crowd from the other side of the limestone quarry. He picked up a stone. He walked down very slowly towards the pile of stones that you see on your left-hand side. He had his moment of silence, and then he put the stone down. And all ex-political prisoners that were here on that day, about 1,200 of them, without saying a word to anyone, they did the same thing. After that, they had a moment of silence, and it was in respect of those not make it during the struggle. They promised to come here every after 5 years to put more stones over there until the last ex-political prisoner dies. It was not planned, but as you can see the pile of stones today, the stones are different in size, in color, and in shape. They symbolize the rainbow nation of South Africa. The pile of stones is today a monument which reminds us of the hardship and the triumph of human spirit over adversity. And now we go into the village of Robben Island. because it's the church of the villagers of Robben Island today. We have a tradition in this church on the island today. Every year on Valentine's Day, we have weddings that take place on the island, and this is where they take place. This year, we had, rather in 2019, we had 11 couples celebrating 22 years of Robben Island being a museum. Some of the houses on your right hand side are now occupied by the staff of Robben Island. It was once a village for the gods and their families only. We do not have a school on the island today. All of the learners who stay on the island commute on a days to the schools on the mainland. The red and white structure coming up on your left hand side was the house of the commissioner then. It's today the VIP guest. The closest to Robben Island is on your far left, below Strand, about 7 kilometers away from here. Cape Town is ahead of us and it's 11.5 kilometers away from here. Around the corner, we're going to have a break for you to take pictures of Cape Town. The Robben Island photo frame down the road for you like to take pictures. And if you want to buy some snacks and cool drinks, you can use the structure coming up now left hand side. We have some restrooms down there as well. Enjoy your break. Now gonna be run to the side of the island, and we might spot some of the antelopes that we have. The quarry on your right hand side is called Panoramics Quarry. It's where the slaves used to cut the stones, and those stones were used to build the castle of Good Hope in Cape Town. On Robben Island, we had 29 shipwrecks. The shipwreck coming up on your left hand side was called Fung Chung 2. It was a test vessel and it wrecked here in 1977. Coming up ahead of us were the searchlights during the Second World War, and they could spot the ship 7 kilometers into the sea. The bushes on your right hand side are called fane, and they are the indigenous vegetation of Robben Island. Some of the trees that you see on the island are called eucalyptus trees, and they're from Australia. As I have mentioned, between 1939 and 1945, Robben Island was used as a military base for the Second World War, and so 5 guns were built on the island, but today we have only 3, and they are all connected underground. The gun on your left hand side is a 9-inch caliber gun which can shoot about 50 kilometers from here, but it was never used because Cape Town was never targeted. The structure on your left hand side was an armory during the Second World War, and the clearer view of the lighthouse is coming up on your right hand side. The light built in 1863 on the highest point of Robben Island, 30 meters above sea level. It's 18 meters tall and it's still functional. There you go on your right hand side. The island is 574 hectares big, which is equivalent to 12 kilometers in circumference. On the island we have 3 types of antelopes. We've got the springbok, the steenbok, and the European fallow deer. On Robben Island, we have 3 recorded escapes. They were only in the 16 and 1800s. In 1659, Ochumadong, the first prisoner to come to the island, he was once an interpreter for Jan van Riebeeck, but because of alleged cattle stealing, they banished him to Robben Island. But it did not stay here for long, because he stole a boat and he escaped to the mainland, and his escape was successful. In 1690, Jan Reekman swam from Robben Island to Cape Town, and his escape was successful. In 1820, Makana, the courser chief, him and other 30 convicts stole 4 boats and escaped to the mainland, but unfortunately their boats never reached the Cape. They all capsized. Only 4 of them survived. Makana and the others drowned. Ladies and gentlemen, from my side, thank you very much. This is an end of our tour. Please take all your belongings with you.
இப்போ ராபன் ஐலாண்டில் வந்து எல்லா ட்ரிப்பெல்லாம் முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. ஸோ இப்போ என்ன பண்ணாங்க அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ஃபஸ்ட்டு காரில் வந்து உங்களுக்கு அந்த வீடியோ பார்த்துருப்பீங்க, என்னென்ன பிளேஸ் எப்போ இது பண்ணாங்கங்கிறத சொல்லியிருப்பாங்க டீட்டெயில்டாக. அடுத்து வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா எனக்கு வீடியோ பண்ணுறதுக்கு அலோவ் பண்ணலை. உள்ளே வந்து ஒவ்வொரு ஜெயிலில் எப்போ வந்து என்னென்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, அதே மாதிரி எந்தெந்த இயரில் வந்து என்னென்ன பண்ணாங்கங்கிறத டீட்டெயில்டாக சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. அவங்களோட ஃபுட்டு எப்படி இருந்தது, டயட் எப்படி இருந்தது அங்கே ஜெயில் கைதிகளுக்கு, அதே மாதிரி வந்து அவங்க என்னென்ன வேலைலாம் பார்த்தாங்க. இங்கே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தெரியும், இங்கே ஸ்டோனால் எல்லாமே பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. இது எல்லாமே இங்கே இருக்க மலையை உடச்சி இது பண்ணி அது மூலயமா பண்ணது. இது ஃபுல்லாக உடைச்சது ஃபுல்லாக யாருன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, அங்கே உள்ளே இருக்கிற ஜெயில் இல்லை தண்டனைக்காக இருப்பாங்கள்ல, அவங்க தான் வந்து இதெல்லாமே உடைக்க வச்சுருப்பாங்கண்ணா. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி எல்லா டீட்டெயிலும் வந்து ஷேர் பண்ணாங்க. அவங்களோட மெடிக்கல் ஃபெசிலிட்டி எப்படி இருந்தது அதை பற்றி தான் சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. ஸோ ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது. ஒரு நியூ எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸாகவும் இருந்துச்சு சவுத் ஆஃப்ரிக்கா பற்றி தெரிஞ்சுக்க. அதே மாதிரி பார்த்திங்கன்னா இங்கே நெல்சன் மண்டேலா வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட அந்த ஒரு ஃபோட்டோ நான் அதில் ஆட் பண்ணுறேன், உங்களுக்கு பார்த்துருப்பீங்க. அது வந்து நெல்சன் மண்டேலா அந்த இதில் தான் ஜெயிலில் இருந்தார். அந்த இடத்துல தான் கிட்டத்தட்ட 18 வருஷம் அவர் அந்த இடத்துல இருந்திருக்காரு. இங்கே வந்து வேறு ஒரு இடத்துலையும் ஜெயில் போனதை நான் வந்து இன்னும் வீடியோ போடலை. ஆக்சுவலி நம்மளோட காந்திஜியும் காந்தி தாத்தாவும் அவங்களும் சேர்ந்து இருந்திருக்கிற ஜெயில் வந்து ஒரு இடத்துல இருக்குது இங்கே சவுத் ஆஃப்ரிக்காவில். காந்தி தாத்தா வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா 7 மந்த் வந்து இங்கே சவுத் ஆஃப்ரிக்காவில் இருந்தார் அவர் படிச்சுட்ருக்க காலத்தில். ஸோ நான் அதை வந்து நான் கூடி சீக்கிரத்தில் வந்து அந்த வீடியோ நான் வந்து அப்லோட் பண்ணுறேன். இங்கே சவுத் ஆஃப்ரிக்காவில் 7 மந்த் அவர் இருந்திருக்காரு ஜெயிலில். அந்த ஜெயிலோட இது எல்லாமே கொடுக்குறேன். ஸோ இங்கே வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா எல்லாமே வந்து ஃபுல் அண்ட் ஃபுல் இந்த ஐலாண்டில் ஜெயில் மட்டும்தான். இப்போ வந்து ஒரு 200 ஃபேமிலி இருக்குதுன்னு சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. ஸோ 200 ஃபேமிலியுமே பார்த்திங்கன்னா இங்கே வேலை பார்க்குறவங்களோட ஃபேமிலிஸ் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கிறாங்க, வேறு யாரும் பெருசாக இல்லை. ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்துச்சு. இங்கே பார்த்தீங்கன்னாலே தெரியும் உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா.
Departing the island, please proceed to the boat. To all the visitors departing the island, please proceed to the boat.
நாங்கள் லஞ்ச் முடிச்சுட்டு இப்போ வந்து செகண்ட் பிளேஸ் வந்து போயிட்டுருக்கோம். எங்கே போகிறோம் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கிளிஃப்டன் பீச் வந்து போயிட்டுருக்கோங்க. நம்ம கிளிஃப்டன் பீச்சுக்கு வந்து வந்துட்டோங்க. இதுதான் அந்த இடம். ஸோ நாங்கள் அந்த பீச்சுக்கு தான் போயிட்டுருக்கோம். இங்கே பாருங்கள், பீச்சுக்கு வந்துட்டோம். ஒயிட் சாண்டாக இருக்குது பீச் சாண்ட் வந்து. ஸோ ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்குது பீச்சு. ரொம்ப நாள் கழித்து பீச்சுக்கு வந்திருக்கோம். ஸோ பசங்களாம் ரொம்ப எக்ஸைட்டடாக இருக்காங்க ப்ளே பண்ணுறதுக்கு. மகதி பீச்சில் எப்படி இருந்தது உங்களுக்கு? பிடிச்சிருந்தா? உனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருந்ததா? வீட்டுக்கு போகலாமா? இன்னும் கொஞ்ச நேரம் விளாட்லாமா? இன்னும் 1 மினிட்டா? ஆ, ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருக்கா எப்படி? வேவ்ஸ் ரொம்ப பெருசாக இருந்ததா வேவு? ஆஹா, அப்போ இனிமேல் டெய்லி பீச்சுக்கு போவீங்களா நீங்கள்? தேங்க்யூ. நோ. ஆ, நாங்கள் இப்போ கிளிப்டன் பீச் முடிச்சிட்டோம். இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து வீட்டுக்கு கிளம்புறோம். ஸோ ரொம்ப ஹாட்டாக இருக்குது, சன்னியாக இருக்குது இன்றைக்கி டே வந்து. பசங்க ரொம்ப நல்லா என்ஜாய் பண்ணாங்க. இப்போ டைம் பார்த்திங்கன்னா 6 o'clock ஆகுது, ஈவினிங் 6 o'clock. பட் ஆனால் வெதர் பாருங்கள் எவ்வளோ சன்னியாக. ஸோ நான் இந்த vlog-ஐ இதோட முடிச்சுக்கிறேன் இன்னைக்கு. ஸோ தேங்க்ஸ் ஃபார் வாட்சிங். ப்ளீஸ் சப்ஸ்கிரைப் மை சேனல்.